All right, what's good? It's your boy Fanon, and in this video, we are going to be talking about Jaron Ennis, Errol Spence, and Jaron Ennis being removed from the rankings of the WBA, the WBC, and the BO, and what Jaron Ennis says will happen as far as him becoming the IBF champion next. Let's talk about that in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon, and in this video, we're going to be in the 147-pound division, and we are going to talk primarily about Jaron Ennis. Also in the conversation will include the IBF championship and Errol Spence Jr. Also, the reason why Jaron Ennis, did not go the WBO route to fight Terrence Crawford. So let's talk about that in this video. But before I do, let me welcome you back to the channel. If you're new to the channel, please accept my invitation to hit that subscribe button, hit the bell icon so you can be notified of when we release more videos. And if you are a longtime subscriber and supporter, thank you so much for your continued support. Thank you to guys like Matty Yole. Thank you to guys like Mr. Pragmatic and John Boy and all you guys that support the channel so well. Thank you. And also to anybody that supports in the super thanks, which is that heart sign that you can see in the lower right-hand corner. Thank you as well as in advance. But if you can't, hey, hit the like button. Any type of support helps. Let's get into this because there's been a lot of stuff going on around these YouTube boxing streets. A lot of conversation, a lot of rumor, a lot of not my opinion, in fact, a lot of misinformation going around that just got cleared up in an interview that took place on YSM Sports Media, in an interview that took place with BOZY Ennis. And in this interview, he talks about the Jaron Ennis and the IBF belt and why he chose to fight for the IBF interim title and allow himself to be removed from the rankings of the other sanctioning bodies. But I got to give you a little background just to give you some clarity. Jaron Ennis just fought a guy named Kareem, Kugadayev, something like that, and became the IBF interim champion. Now, what that means is right now, Jaron Ennis is a world champion. He holds a world championship for the IBF. He does not own the major title by the IBF, but he does hold a world title for the IBF. And according to BOZY Ennis, the reason what happens with Jaron Ennis is if Errol Spence Jr. moves up in weight, fights Keith Thurman at 154 and stays at 154, that would mean that Jaron Ennis would more than likely be elevated to the IBF champion and be named the champion. Similarly, when Devin Haney was the the WBC interim titleist, when Vasily Lomachenko was elevated to the franchise title, Devin Haney was elevated to the WBC title. Same thing occurred for Jermall Charlo. When Jermall Charlo, I don't know if he was the interim title or not, but he was elevated to the WBC championship once Canelo Alvarez was franchised and became the WBC franchise titleist. So that option is there if Errol Spence Jr. does not come back down to defend his IBF title. Now, seeing as the WBA has said that he has 60 days to do a fight to solidify a fight with Terrence Crawford, and we know full well, at least I believe, so let me say, I guess we don't know for certain that Terrence Crawford isn't going to do the same thing he did the last negotiation, which is not make a fight with Errol Spence. Chances are that Errol Spence Jr. will then have to fight the WBA champion, the WBA the winner of Stanionis and Virgil Ortiz, or he's going to have to just go up in weight. If Errol is not going to fight Terrence Crawford, more than likely he's going to stay up in weight. And that means Jaron Ennis will likely become, not for certain, got to be very careful about what you say, likely, potentially, not certainly, be elevated to the IBF championship, and then a fight between he and Terrence Crawford would be a unification title. He would not have to wait to become the mandatory for Terrence Crawford. So BOZY Ennis also, again, clarified the specific reason he went the IBF route and not the WBO route. And what he said was, we're number one in the IBF. We were not number one in the WBO. So we were given that opportunity to fight for a world championship, which would allow us to be elevated, potentially elevated to the IBF. And that's why we took that route. Also, if Terrence Crawford wants to unify belts, there you go. And on top of it, from a boxing standpoint, fan standpoint, that fight between Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence Jr. would be the preferable fight because, as you know, the saying goes, unifications trump mandatories. So if he's elevated to the IBF, Terrence Crawford still has the WBO and he doesn't move up in weight or he doesn't vacate the belt, then that fight can be made that way and it doesn't have to be in a mandatory situation. So Jaron Ennis has both angles that he can take. Now, my take on it is this, that is probably the smartest route for Jaron Ennis to take, was to become the IBF interim titleist. I did not like, by the way, and we have to correct some misinformation. We know for certain, as soon as Jaron Ennis agreed to fight for the interim title, that he was no longer going to be in the rankings of the division, of any other sanctioning body in that division immediately. And the reason, again, that is, and I've explained this multiple times, because he is now a world titleist, right? You can again say, well, that's not a major title. Doesn't matter. It's a world title, and it is an IBF title. You cannot, if you are the WBC, the WBA, or the WBO, order Jaron Ennis to defend his IBF interim title or interim world title against somebody in your rankings, because that would essentially mean that any sanctioning body could control or have say-so over who is an IBF champion. And the only scenario in which, and matter of fact, there is no scenario in which that can take place unless, I suspect, you petition for it, because I do know that when the WBA had Jorge Linares, I think Jorge Linares was the champion, but I also think he was at a point in time also ranked at lightweight with he was with the WBC or the IBF. But I think that you have to petition. I think you maybe have to petition to do that. And since you have to petition, that means they have to approve it. But anyway, very insightful conversation from BOZY Ennis, the trainer, father of Jaron Ennis, gives a lot of clarity out there. And hopefully, since I don't hold a lot of hope out for the Errol Spence Terrence Crawford fight, and people say, oh, why do you do Terrence Crawford videos all the time? Man, I don't do them all the time, but I'm doing them anytime it crosses my mind or it crosses the news feed. I'm going to talk about it because it's something that I find interesting. And the welterweight division and what goes on in the welterweight division is very important to American boxing. Then anyway, that's my take on the matter. You let me know what you think in the comment section. And with that, I'm out. Deuces.